There is a mystery in the way God works, a pattern woven into the lives of those he calls, yet often misunderstood. It is the season no one prays for, the time few speak about, the place hidden beneath the surface where no applause is heard and no spotlight shines. It is the hidden season of preparation, the sacred in-between, the time where nothing seems to happen, and yet everything is being built. When God prepares a vessel for purpose, he does not place it on the stage immediately. He first calls it into the secret, into the shadows, into the wilderness, the place of stripping, the place of shaping, the place where the foundation is laid, not with human hands, but with the weight of silence and the fire of waiting. You may have felt forgotten. You may have felt overlooked. You may have walked through doors that never opened, knocked until your knuckles bled, and waited until your voice grew hoarse. But in the waiting, you were being formed. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. God hides what he values. He conceals what he's building. Diamonds form in darkness. Seeds grow beneath the soil. Prophets are shaped in caves. Warriors are trained in obscurity. He took David, a forgotten shepherd boy, and trained his hands for war, far from the battlefield. Long before the crown came the pasture, long before Goliath came the lion and the bear. And long before the throne came years of being unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. But in that hidden place, David wasn't dying, he was rising. He was being readied. His character was catching up to his calling. And it is the same with you. God prepares privately for what he will reveal publicly. And what he does in the unseen is more important than what will ever be seen. Because what's built in public will crumble if the foundation is weak. But what's built in the secret place, where no one else is watching, that will stand. You've cried out for the promise, but God knows that preparation must precede fulfillment. You've longed for the release, but he knows that roots must grow deep before the tree can reach high, because if he released you too early, it would crush you. If he opened the door before you were ready, the blessing would become a burden. So he hides you, he prunes you, he tests your motives, he sanctifies your heart, he burns away what can't remain in the next season. And sometimes that burning feels like loss. Sometimes that pruning feels like rejection. But it is mercy. It is love. It is the hand of the potter, shaping the clay until it can carry the weight of the glory to come. And just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's empty. Just because it's still doesn't mean it's stagnant. Heaven is never idle. God does not waste time. The wilderness is a classroom. The silence is a sermon. And the waiting is a workshop. Every tear, every prayer, every question, he collects them all. He writes them into the story. Even what you thought was wasted becomes sacred in his hands. And you are not being overlooked. You are being preserved. You are not forgotten. You are being hidden for the right moment. Just as Jesus himself was hidden for 30 years before he ever performed a miracle, so you too are being prepared for an appointed hour. Heaven works on a different clock, and when the time is right, when the preparation is complete, when the character has caught up to the calling, the shift will come. Not slowly, but suddenly. The doors will open, and you'll understand why they had to stay shut before. The favor will find you, and you'll know why it waited until now. The voice of the Lord will thunder, and what was once invisible will be undeniable. So don't despise the hidden season. Don't curse the silence. Don't mistake stillness for abandonment. This is the season where strength is born, where discernment is sharpened, where the oil is pressed. This is the place where God becomes real, where the applause of man fades and the whisper of heaven becomes your guide. The turnaround begins long before it's seen. It starts in the heavenlies. It begins when a word is released, a decree is spoken, a divine appointment is set in motion. And then things begin to shake. What was stuck begins to move. What was blocked begins to open. It doesn't always look like deliverance at first. Sometimes it looks like disruption. Sometimes the turnaround doesn't come dressed in triumph, but in trial. But don't be fooled. The shaking is not destruction, it is transition. God spoke, and the bones in the valley began to rattle. They didn't become an army immediately. First they came together, then flesh came, then breath came. Step by step, the prophetic turnaround unfolded. So too with you. The rattling has already begun. The order is being restored. The breath is coming, and soon what was dry, dead, and scattered will rise up in power. You may have been in a season where nothing made sense, doors closed without reason, prayers felt unanswered, promises seemed far, but hear this, it wasn't the end, it was the setup. And now the shift has begun, the Spirit of God is moving again. What was dormant is awakening, what was barren is preparing to bear fruit. The things that once resisted you will begin to release you. The hearts that were cold will begin to open. The places that shut you out will call you back in. Because when the prophetic turnaround comes, what was your opposition becomes your testimony. What hurt you now heals others. What tried to bury you becomes the platform for your voice. What was used against you is turned for your good. This is the nature of our God. He takes what the enemy meant for evil and flips it. He takes your weeping and turns it into a palace. He takes your weeping and turns it into joy. He takes your ashes and gives you beauty. And here's the mystery. You won't always feel it when it begins. You won't always recognize it in its early stages. But if you listen in the Spirit, you'll hear the sound of walls crumbling, the sound of chains breaking, the sound of heaven declaring, now is the time. So stand. Stand even if it still looks the same. Stand even when the report hasn't changed. Stand because the word has gone forth. Stand because the tide is turning. Stand because heaven has declared a new season. The prophetic turnaround is not a feeling. It is a fact in the kingdom. It is written before, it is witnessed, and it is unfolding even now. He who promised is faithful. He who began the work will complete it. And what looked like delay is becoming deliverance. What felt like defeat is becoming destiny. The battle you thought would break you is becoming the birthplace of your breakthrough. There is a moment when the delay breaks, not because time finally gives in, but because heaven decrees that the wait has fulfilled its purpose. Delay is not always the absence of God. It is often the proof of his process. It is in the delay that faith is refined. It is in the delay that motives are exposed. It is in the delay that character is forged, vision is clarified, and distractions are stripped away. But delay is not meant to be permanent. There comes a divine moment when delay has done all it was allowed to do, and the decree comes forth from the throne. Now, what has been restrained is released. What was withheld is poured out. What was stuck begins to flow. It is not by accident. It is not by human effort. It is by the hand of the Almighty. For when the delay breaks, it doesn't just trickle, it bursts. It comes suddenly. It comes forcefully. It comes with the sound of heaven behind it, with the breath of God upon it. What held you in place must let you go. What seemed immovable begins to shift. And what felt like an endless wilderness becomes the ground of birthing. Because delay is not death, it is labor. And labor is messy. Labor is painful. Labor feels like contradiction. You feel the pressure before you see the promise. You feel the stretching before you see the baby. You groan in your spirit before you hold what you've been carrying. But make no mistake, when delay breaks, destiny is born. God is a God of appointed times. He is not careless with your life. He is not disorganized in your process. What he promised, he will fulfill. And if you've been in a season of delay, it is not because God forgot. It is because he has been preparing. He has been aligning things beyond your vision. He has been preparing hearts, moving pieces, setting stages. And he has been preparing you because destiny cannot be birthed in a shallow vessel. It cannot be sustained by an untested soul. And so he allowed the delay not to punish you, but to ready you, to deepen your well, to purify your pursuit, to mature your praise, so that when the destiny breaks forth, you can carry it without collapse. You are closer now than you've ever been. The pressure you feel is not a sign of failure, but a signal of nearness. The enemy always fights hardest at the threshold. The resistance increases just before the release. But this delay is not endless. This labor is not futile. Something is about to be born. And when it comes, it will come quickly. The years of waiting will suddenly make sense. The prayers you cried in private will become the testimony you declare in public. The closed doors will reveal their purpose. The no's will turn into divine yeses. What was hidden will be revealed. What was small will become significant, and what was delayed will be delivered. Destiny does not die in delay. It matures. It becomes rooted. It grows stronger. And when it comes forth, it will not come in your strength, but in His. It will not be the fruit of striving, but of surrender. Because when God births destiny, He gets the glory. Man cannot take credit. Systems cannot claim ownership. Only the hand of the Lord can do what is about to be done. You may feel tired. You may feel like you've carried the promise too long. But hear this. The pain is a sign that the birthing is near. Do not give up in the final moments. Do not turn back at the edge of fulfillment. The waters are breaking. The heavens are opening. The time has come. This is the hour where delay ends and destiny emerges. Not because everything looks right. Not because everything feels easy. But because God said, now. Because heaven has marked this moment. Because the spiritual womb has reached fullness. And when God says the delay is over, nothing can stop the delivery. Not fear, not people, not circumstance, not even you. So, lift your eyes, strengthen your hands, steady your heart. The promise is not lost. The delay is not wasted. The labor is not in vain. Destiny is not just near, it's breaking through. The veil is thinning. The sound is shifting. The air is heavy. What you've been waiting for, praying for, pressing for. It's time. The delay is breaking. Destiny is being born. And when it comes, it will not only bless you, it will shift the ground beneath you. It will impact generations. It will echo into eternity. This is not just another season. This is a birthing. This is a breaking. This is the moment when the waiting ends and the promise stands in front of you, alive and breathing. The enemy thought it was his delay. He thought he had bought time. He thought he could interrupt heaven's flow. He saw the pause in your life and mistook it for power. He saw the silence and mistook it for victory. He saw the doors that didn't open, the prayers that didn't seem to be answered, and he laughed. He said, I've done it. I've shut it down. I've delayed the promise. I've held back the release. I've silenced the voice. But what he failed to understand was this. He was not delaying you. He was being used by God to develop you. What he thought was a strategy was a setup. What he thought was a block was actually a blessing in disguise. The enemy saw the wilderness, but he didn't see the manna. He saw the pit, but he didn't see the palace. He saw the cross, but he didn't understand the resurrection. Because the enemy only sees what is in front of him. He only operates in the now. He is not eternal. He does not dwell in omniscience. He is not Alpha or Omega. He is a defeated imitator who thought he could rewrite what God already finished. He thought the detour would destroy you. He thought the heartbreak would break you. He thought the delay would drain your faith, and maybe for a moment it looked like it did. Maybe you cried, maybe you wrestled, maybe you questioned, wandered, staggered. But what the enemy didn't realize is that every tear watered the roots. Every groan in your spirit became a song in the heavens. Every time you chose to believe instead of break, you planted a seed of unstoppable faith. He thought the silence would be your undoing, but God was working in the silence. God was preparing you when no one could see. Heaven was crafting what would come next, and the enemy mistook hiddenness for defeat. He thought he buried you, not knowing you were planted. He thought he locked you down, not knowing God was locking you in. Because when God hides you, it is not punishment, it is protection. The enemy assumed the delay was his design, but it wasn't his delay, it was God's timeline. And when God says now, no demon can say later. When God says go, no devil can say wait. When God says release it, no darkness can hold it back. The enemy is not the author of time. He is not the ruler of seasons. He cannot block what heaven has appointed. He thought the delay would cause you to let go of the word, but you held it. You hid it in your heart. You guarded it through storms, and what you protected in the night will rise in the morning. The enemy thought if he could just delay it long enough, you'd stop believing. But the delay made you desperate. The delay sharpened your hunger. The delay drove you to your knees until you weren't just chasing the promise. You were clinging to the presence. And that is what he never wanted. He didn't want you to pray like this. He didn't want you to worship in the middle of the storm. He didn't want you to stand on the word when everything looked opposite. He didn't want you to become unshakable. But in trying to delay you, he only deepened you. In trying to break you, he only built you. And now the delay is about to turn. Heaven is shifting. The winds are changing. The enemy is starting to panic because the sound of fulfillment is rising. The sound of awakening is stirring. The release is beginning to move in the unseen realm. And the enemy knows he cannot stop it because he never authored it. He underestimated the one who holds your story. He forgot that your steps are ordered, not random. He forgot that what God starts, he finishes. And the very thing he tried to delay will be the very thing God uses to display his glory. Because God doesn't just overcome the delay, he redeems it. He pays back with interest. What the enemy delayed, God accelerates. What he tried to block, God brings back in overflow. What he meant for harm becomes the platform for purpose. So if you've felt delayed, held back, stuck, or stalled, hear this. It was never his delay. It was God's design. And now the delay is breaking. The enemy's lie is unraveling. The time is drawing near, and what heaven has ordained will be born. The enemy thought it was his delay, but it was your preparation, your protection, and your divine positioning. And now it is your time. The delay is over. Destiny is in motion. And hell can't do anything to stop it.